Hi there, welcome back. This is part 2 of my Q&A about addiction. And again, if you didn't watch the other video yet, my name is Amanda. I am the founder of Illumination Unlimited Life Coaching Services, and I am doing these Q&As as a way of life coaching to the masses and helping as many people as I can. And I can't think of a better topic to start out with for my first Q&A than addiction. So in my last video, which was my very first YouTube video, first of all, I'm going to apologize for the picture quality because it's not good. And I am still figuring all this out, but I'm going to leave it because I like the way it turned out. I think I got the message across okay. And you guys are going to see I'm going to get better and better at this, or I'm going to find somebody to hire that eventually that can help me figure out how to put together good professional quality videos. But in the meantime, the important thing is just getting the information out there. So again, last video, I talked about, I had a really great question from Crystal about drugs and how people get addicted to drugs, how that happens, and all of that. And so the follow-up question comes from Melanie, who says, "Dear Amanda, I've always had a lot of anxiety, both socially and just in dealing with everyday life. Recently, I've been turning to alcohol to try to relieve my anxiety. It seems to work sometimes, but other times it leads me to drink too much. Many times I only plan to have a drink or two, but accidentally go too far and mess things up in my life. Why does that happen? How can I get my anxiety and my drinking under control?" Well, Melanie, welcome to the very, 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 very large club of people who started drinking innocently enough, like you feel like every other adult in the whole entire world does, and then realizing that you've been led to a point where you're drinking in an unhealthy way. And so Melanie, I think to start with, the best way to help you understand the situation that you're dealing with would be for me to give you a little bit of backstory about me. So I grew up in a tumultuous household where I'll say my father, rest his soul, was an alcoholic. Regularly, daily, drank large amounts, and he was an alcoholic that would get angry when he would drink. And so that made life really rough. And honestly, like, I swear I thought I would never touch alcohol. But then as I went to different social events, as I got older and became more aware, I noticed like everywhere I went, like every party, every get together, every holiday, it seemed like every adult had an alcoholic beverage in their hand. And so I realized, like, okay, so my dad has a problem. And so, I've seen, other people in my life that would drink to excess, and sometimes to the point of it being like really, really bad, like urinating on themselves, falling down, all of that. I did see that, but then I saw other people drink normally. And then what's really messed up, so I made friends with people as a young adult that had a lot of get-togethers that involved alcohol, and I spent a lot of time at those get-togethers, and I had severe social anxiety, so I didn't do well. I'm the awkward, fumble over myself, say the weird, wrong thing type of gal, and back then I just felt like that was unacceptable. I wanted to have friends. I struggled to make friends to begin with, and I just wanted to fit in, and so that's why I ever picked up an alcoholic beverage to begin with. And I was not 21, and I won't incriminate anyone, but did have people in my life that could get alcohol for me and my friends, and they were all drinking, and they were all drinking the same way I was. In fact, they made fun of me when I first started drinking because I sipped it, and they were like, "You need to put a nipple on that thing, you're nursing it," because I was like, it's gross, right? Ew. And like even the most yummy alcohol, most of it's like really got not a good taste to it. Like our bodies can sense that it's not good for us, right? And so now I muscled through all that, and I had a lot of anxiety because I was a little goody two-shoe choir girl press, and I never did anything wrong. So when I first started taking my sips of alcohol, I felt terribly guilty and anxious, so anxious. And then, they'd tease me and talk me into taking long sips. And then I realized at some point that Well, yeah, if I drink enough, the anxiety goes away. The anxiety about drinking, the anxiety about being here, the anxiety about talking to people. And in my head, I was just cool as all get out. I'm sure, if we had camera phones back when I was younger, and in my early drinking days, there'd be some mortifying stuff that'd probably be like viral on YouTube right now, like me falling down a hill and wetting myself. That happened. I'm not proud to admit, but just saying there are things that are like huge red flags. And you even wonder, like, why do I continue to drink after certain things all happen? When you go too far with it, you get sick, you have the next day terrible hangover, you feel like you're gonna die. And yet, like, that's how socially, I guess, not to even say socially acceptable, but socially expected drinking alcohol is. And I am not slamming alcohol at this point, okay? So I'm gonna say, we won't blame the alcohol, but we will. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But continuing on with me, I never drank on a daily basis, but I did come to a period of time in, especially like as a young mother, I fell into the trap that many other young mothers do of you get together with your friends and you have mommy wine time. And if it's wine, you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem if you polish off a bottle of wine a day. It's wine. It's classy. And again, wasn't an everyday thing, but it affected me. It affected my parenting. I had anxiety the days after. They jokingly call that hang-anxiety. Get it? But yeah, it affected every part of my life, even if I wasn't drinking every day. And then fast forward, I did get to a place in my life, admittedly, where for, I would say, about a 6-month period of time, and I won't go into details, this has been like 10 years ago, but the circumstances of my life were so horrific, so bad, so anxiety provoking that because alcohol relaxed me before in my life, and I'd used it to medicate myself, to self-medicate before, and it seemed to help. That was all. I reached for it, I hit it, and no holds barred. And the problem was, I wasn't going to be able to drink away the terrible circumstances of my life. I wasn't going to be able to drink away the horrible way that I was being treated at that point in time in my life under those circumstances, and the nightmare that other people were trying to create in my life. So I did. And I won't even, I've had spurts off and on where I would catch myself and realize, like, okay, I can't be drinking every day. But I would drink just about every day. I wouldn't get drunk every day. I wouldn't always. It was mostly wine. It was mommy wine time. It was mostly after my kids they'd done their homework and I'd helped, and I'd made a homemade dinner, and I got their backpacks ready for the next day and helped them pick out clothes, and even, sang a lullaby and supervised toothbrushing, and I did all of the mom responsibilities, and then I poured my wine. And again, it starts with a couple of glasses, but then you're going through some horrible, horrible shit, pardon my French. And next thing you know, it's a bottle a day. And then the next day I basically feel mostly like crap. It's weird, but I got used to it. And I was still like brushing my teeth and washing my face. And so I told myself it wasn't an issue. I was still performing all my daily activities. I had a full-time job. I was, my kids, I was there for my kids, but looking back, just with everything I had going on, and then with the effects of the alcohol in my life at that time, because I was trying to self-medicate with it, I wasn't present for my children the way that I could have been during those times. And I think I wasn't always aware of what they were going through because I was too busy trying to numb myself, and I regret that very much. And like, thankfully, my daughters and I, regardless of anything, have beautiful relationships. They love me very much. I love them very much. We love each other unconditionally, and they learn from my mistakes a lot. Anyhow, how does that happen? Why does that happen? Starting out with our brains, the way they process alcohol is, when it's introduced to our system, our body starts to immediately purge it, which is why when you first start drinking, like, you get sick a lot because your body freaks out because this is ethanol. your body think like it's being poisoned and it's panicking and it's purging. Well, like with anything else, if you continue to subject your body to it on a regular basis, eventually it's going to adapt to it, no matter what that is. Even if you did just drink a little bit of gasoline every day, eventually your body would somehow, I don't do that, I'm just saying. Anyway, regardless of what you do, like your body can adapt to it. Doesn't mean it's healthy, doesn't mean it's not negatively affecting it, but it adapts and gets used to it. And so you get to the next phase where, maybe you just drink socially and you don't drink to excess. And so, you might feel a little bit crappy the next day after you drink, but it's not too terrible. Then you'd be surprised where if somehow you get to a place where you find yourself using alcohol to medicate yourself from something like stress, anxiety, even some people use it like physical pain, headaches, whatever. As I mentioned in the last video, those neural pathways are being affected and wires are being crossed, and there's a signal being sent to your brain now that this is something that you need physically when those bad feelings come. It's just your body's primitive self doing what it does to take care of you, to make you well. Like I said, it's like, the same way you need water. Like something happens in your brain where you feel like eventually like you need the alcohol. I was never physically dependent on alcohol, and I've gotten to a place now where I won't say that I don't now and then realize that like, oh yeah, I didn't need the extra amount of alcohol I went ahead and decided to have. I was having a good time out, partying it up or whatever. But I can say I don't use alcohol to medicate myself. I don't drink when I'm going through bad times in my life, and I don't drink most days. And like I said, when I do, it's social and no longer in an unhealthy way for me. I would never, ever allow myself to go back to the place I was at. And like I'm not even proud to admit that. People that know me personally in my life, I think some of them might think that it was way worse than what it was. Because again, I wasn't the, waking up on the neighbor's porch, having peed my pants, drive my kids to school drunk, train wreck, Dr. Phil, alcoholic mom. I was the normal functioning daily wine drinking mom, drinking my mommy juice every day, and it wasn't healthy and it wasn't good for my life, and my life is better with no longer even performing those activities. Like just for me, because wine was what I used to medicate myself, I rarely drink wine anymore. Like every now and then, and I don't typically choose my favorite kinds, like the kinds I would drink on a regular basis. I don't typically choose those kinds anymore. Just because I know like that somehow like a trigger in my brain for me. And some people really would do best to not drink any alcohol at all. That's when you get to the next level, and now your brain has developed a dependency on it to where when you don't have it, you physically are affected by it, you physically don't feel good, and you physically don't feel like you can go without it. And that can happen from the state I was in, where technically I was still not physically addicted, but like mentally, emotionally addicted. Once you hit that point of being physically addicted, there's no turning back. Now you can no longer, like your prefrontal cortex is so badly damaged and affected, you can't make a logical decision on whether or not you should drink. That's when that's when the alcoholic voice completely takes over. And I don't know, if everyone's heard of the alcoholic voice, but it's what's in your head that tells you should drink when you really shouldn't. Easy enough way to describe it. Not only alcoholics have it, a lot of people can have it, and it's created by drinking alcohol in the first place. It's a chemical effect on your brain that once it has it, it wants more, and this will start to talk to you and tell you reasons why you need more alcohol, how to get it, why it's logical for you to drink it, all of that. And so when you get to that point of being physically addicted, that voice is louder than your voice, and it talks to you almost all the time, and it doesn't care what it does to you, and it doesn't care how bad you feel, and it doesn't care how badly it damages your life, and it doesn't care who's hurting. It doesn't care about anything except for more and more and more and more and more alcohol, and that is a freaking terrifying place to be. And I have seen people come out of that, shockingly, but once you get there, it is so difficult to come out of that. If you ever get to a place where you don't feel like you need to drink anymore, pardon my dog. I'm not even going to stop this right now, so hopefully she will eventually calm down. Once you get to that place, you have to reach out for help, and then you can't drink anymore. Because as soon as you finally get clean, and from my understanding, like the detox, when you're that physically addictive is pretty brutal, and many times, most of the time, needs medical supervision so that nothing really terrible happens to you. Teddy, apologies, the neighbors outside, and this is what my little dog likes to do, old Karen Teddy. Anyways, so we're gonna let her be in the video. Come here, Karen Teddy, come here, so that she can behave herself. We're gonna let her be in the video. Anyways, so when you get to that place, you can't drink anymore. You don't want to let yourself get to that place. And honestly, if you feel like you can't drink without drinking to excess to the point that you're sick each time, again, that's something like that you're kind of on a fast track to getting physically addicted. So your best bet would be probably to leave it alone. And if you really look at it, a lot of times with anxiety as an adult, like many times our anxiety is created by our physical responses to the after effects of drinking and things like that. Or like I say, if you're using other drugs, the anxiety a lot of times comes from the withdrawal, or from the guilt of doing something that you know that you shouldn't be doing. And just like you said, the hangover and all of that, it's terrible, and it's not worth it. It's not a fun way to live. So what do you do? It's like, do you just deal with it? Do you suffer through it? What do you do? Well, no, you don't have to suffer through your anxiety. You just can't medicate it with alcohol. So you do other things. As I had mentioned in the last video, there's meditation is one of the best possible things you can do, because one of the biggest, what creates our anxiety is our thought processes about what's happening in the world around us. It's not even if something really bad is happening, depending on your thought process, that's not even what's actually creating your anxiety. And a lot of people have a hard time believing it, but it's true. It's what you think about the situation, how you're perceiving everything around you. So, doing meditations and just restructuring your thought processes about things, and being aware of your triggers and knowing how to handle those in a healthy way. Finding good, fun, healthy exercise is amazing for your life. If you can drink a few drinks socially, then great. Like I said, alcohol in and of itself, it can be enjoyable. It can be fun to have a few drinks with your friends and let your hair down and let loose and all of that. But if you're turning into a train wreck, like, baby, that's not for you, and you have to leave that alone, and you're going to be a lot happier without it. So it is not your fault if you've gotten to a place where you feel like you need the alcohol. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean? You chose to drink. Well, sure, you chose to drink just like a lot of other people chose to drink. That part isn't your fault. So you can't control how alcohol affects your brain. If you're even just naturally the type of person that the way alcohol affects you and hits your brain completely railroads you and hijacks you to where you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, or it's affecting your life in horrible ways, like you just can't do that, and it's a bummer. But otherwise, drink responsibly. Don't use it to medicate yourself. and do a lot of research. I want to highly recommend doing research on how alcohol affects the brain to begin with, and that'll help a lot of people who find themselves drinking excessively to really realize what that does, the damage that it does, and why you absolutely cannot do that. So I hope this has helped you. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Teddy. I jokingly call her Karen Teddy because she's always complaining to the manager about something, like neighbor dogs in the yard. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope that helped out, and I am going to do a part 3 on this video because I have one more thing that I want to discuss when it comes to substances. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day, and I'll see you next time.